It used to be that travel numbers were really all you needed to know what a given bike was, but not anymore. A 130mm 29er might be anywhere from a light-duty adventure bike to a big mountain brawler. On the other hand, the Neuron, Canyon's new balanced travel big-wheeled offering, is smack dab in the middle of that spectrum.
Would you consider this new breed of XC bikes?
I mean, it does climb well. I mean, it's especially for a 130 bike, like it's not a 100mm rear end that you're really going to stand on and pump the whole time. I mean, it's a little more traily new breed of XC, I think.
Certainly, but we both noticed that it climbs well even fully open, get a decent amount of traction from it.
Well, it took me a while to get to that sweet spot though. Like I start always at this 30% sag, and I found myself wanting to switch into that medium mode on the rear shock when I was running at 30% sag. It just didn't have quite the get up and go that I wanted it to have when I rode it wide open. So the Spectral and the Torque that Canyon released a year ago has this, I mean, it's a singular leverage curve. It's not like an Evil that's all wonky, but it's meant to be supportive right at sag point and then ramp up before bottom out. And that's something I noticed right away on the Torque. Like there's sort of this snappy feedback right where you want it, something you can push against.
But you thought that was pretty different than this, huh?
Yeah, like I couldn't point to like this is that firm spot in the travel that I'm pushing against. I mean, I got it when I lessened the sag down to 27%, but there wasn't like a really supportive mid-stroke. It just kind of floated a little bit more. And I mean, you look at it, it's got relatively conservative numbers, 67.5 head angle. I mean, it's not one of these. It's not one of these new breed of shortish travel bikes. Like it's not like an Evil Following or even like the Giant Trance.
Yeah, which the Giant Trance with less travel in the back, 115mm, it's got a degree slacker head angle. So this is not quite as aggressively boundary pushing as some of the other bikes we're seeing.
Yeah, the bike doesn't pack a lot of surprises.
And maybe that's characteristic of this rear suspension. This is a horse link style bike, suspension style that a lot of us are really familiar with. It's not necessarily an on-off feel when you step on the pedals, but it's a really predictable suspension. And people that want something that it's going to pedal more aggressively, that middle setting you found certainly stiffen things up. If you go all the way to locked out, it's really a firm lockout. I mean, to me, it was so aggressive that's kind of a smooth fire road only long climb sort of thing. But for single track climbing, I actually really enjoyed that open setting to get a bunch of traction. Still felt efficient.
There were some conservative spec choices to match the conservative chassis, and with a couple exceptions, we welcomed every one of them. The new Neuron integrates some of the little design details that Canyon's doing nowadays. Like they have the plate on the down tube that is like faux internal cable routing. And I think it's sort of a best of both worlds thing. Like the people that hate on internal routing, like they don't want to unhook their brake hose, you just pull the plate off and you can access everything really easily.
Yet it still gives you a pretty clean look to it. You know, it's tidy, it's put away, you don't see everything running different places. So it is a clean look, and they also have that bearing protector as well. Keep your bearings nice and clean over the long haul. Hopefully a little bit of life added there from that.
Yeah. Cool little hideaway rear through axle slow release lever. So it's not a cam, you just pull it out and spin it out. You don't have to find a 6mm Allen wrench that no one carries anymore anyway.
Yet it still gives you a clean look. You're not gonna bash a lever on something or loosen it by accident.
Yeah.
So there are a bunch of nice little attention to detail things on this bike.
I mean, it's got a 60mm stem, which is long by today's standards.
It's crazy to think of that as long compared to 3 years ago.
Yeah, and then the 760mm bar is short by today's standards.
Again, crazy.
Times they are changing.
This bike was very capable downhill, but you could certainly outride the tires. And funny you mentioned that. It's almost sort of a mixed blessing that we found these Guide R brakes on there, because they're not slowing things down in a super hurry. And that's nice, because if they did, you'd probably lose traction pretty fast on the little bit faster rolling, less meaty tires. These are quick, they give it a light feel, but if you're looking for day in, day out trail bike that can ride aggressively downhill, you may want to throw on a burlier set of tires.
And something that helps them feel light is the Reynolds carbon wheels,
which were a nice spec to see here. This is a $4,700 bike. It's nice to see that they prioritized carbon wheels for that price, considering this is a bike that's a lighter overall bike. It's that sort of trail XC type bike. It's a place where somebody will appreciate carbon wheels. The light snappiness to it gives the bike an overall stiffer feel without being way too stiff. It's nice. They prioritize that, yet at the same time they save a little bit of money by going with the alloy bar and stem, parts that if somebody has a real preference to it, they're gonna go ahead and upgrade those things with their personal preferences kind of once they get the bike. This bike does have broad appeal. Not everybody's gonna want 780s or 800s, so.
And I think that broad appeal is a good point on this, is that, so when I set it in that deeper sag, like it was a plush floaty bike for a 130. Like I used every one of those millimeters. And then when I set it down to that 27%, it took me a little more effort to bottom it out. And then it became a little more of like a thrasher bike. So it's something that it comes out of the box like ready for you to make it what you want it to be. The Neuron might have the broadest application of any bike we recently tested. It's comfortable on the climbs and on the flats, and a floater on the descents. If you want a bike that doesn't take sides, the Neuron might be the neutral ground made just for you.